Welcome to the Franklin County Varsity Sports Report. Live for the next half hour, join us as we provide you with all the scores, news, and updates to everything Franklin County sports. And now, here's your host, Bobby C.
Well, good afternoon and welcome to the Franklin County Varsity Sports Report. I'm Bobby C. I hope everyone's doing well here today. We have a little finalization of the regular season and the start of the playoffs that we're going to talk about on this edition. Want to say thank you to our underwriters, Franklin First Federal Credit Union. Yep, they're available for their members. Anyone in Franklin County becomes a member of Franklin First Federal Credit Union. Online at franklinfirst.org. Manny's TV and Appliance, locations on River Street in Greenfield and Route 9 in Hadley. And also, we want to remind everybody that we also have Lisa Alber at Alber Hearing Services. Local audiologist now for almost 30 years at alberhearing.com. All right, why don't we get things started for you here on the Franklin County Varsity Sports Report. Want to let you know that last week in girls basketball, the Palmer girls took on the Greenfield Girls, and it was all Palmer in this one. Final score was 70-40. Also, the Putnam girls ended up picking up a win over the Pioneer girls. Final score was 37-26. The Franklin County girls ended up picking up a 12-point win over Lenox, 45-33. There was also a big boys basketball game that took place where the Greenfield Greenway boys picked up a very impressive win over Bay State Academy. Final was 65-64. Turned out to be a very big win for the Greenfield Green Wave. And of course, that was a nice win going into the tournament, which we're going to do a lot of talking about here on the show. Well, it was an easy win for the Pioneer boys as they knocked off Turner's Falls. And it was no problem in that one for those guys. I'll tell you, they had a very tough stretch down the end of the season where they lost a few guys because of injuries and because of the COVID protocol. And a lot of the younger players ended up stepping up and were able to do a lot of the play during the last 2 weeks of the year. And there was one stretch where they literally had 3 games against the 3 top teams in their division, all within a few days. Very tough for that young group. Well, we want to let you know that in girls Alpine skiing last week, the Lady Warriors ended up sweeping the individual combined titles. They won the title, and it was the first and second place ladies who have been getting it done all year long. Emily Sissom and Addie Loomis. Yep, both those were able to pick up their championships, and I'll tell you right now, they were so key to being able to help their team do well this season. Now, in boys alpine skiing, they had a guy who was great all year long in Weston Den Oden. He ended up being able to capture the boys combined and slalom, as he took also second place in the giant slalom. So this guy right here also was able to pick up a title. It was really exciting to be able to see how well the kids did with alpine skiing with those 2 girls that ended up being so dominant throughout the year, and of course with Weston Den Oden. So great job to alpine skiing and the Mohawk Warriors. Well, last week we want to let folks know that there was a 3-2 loss to the Greenfield Green Wave hockey team as they got beat by Assabet Valley. Now that game, believe it or not, does count on their state tournament ranking. And let me tell you, we're going to talk a little bit about that in just a few minutes. Well, in boys basketball, it was the Miaa boys picking up a huge win over the Franklin County Tech boys, 68-63, as they're trying to be able to hold on with an opportunity to get into the upcoming state tournament. They need to be able to literally win out to be able to have that opportunity. Well, it all got started with that win over the Franklin County Tech last week. In girls basketball, it was the Frontier Girls with an easy win over Hampshire Regional, 54-37. Now, the one thing we can say is that the Frontier Girls are going into the Western Mass Tournament. We'll talk about that, and we'll also talk about what their situation looks like right now in the upcoming state tournament, which we'll be getting into that. Those are going to be our biggest topics as we just sort of roll scores of the final week of the regular season. Well, in girls basketball, it was the Hopkins Girls. They picked up a 44-39 win over Greenfield, which, by the way, we'll talk about a game that they are going to be playing against each other this week. We'll talk about that coming up here on the show. In boys basketball, it was the Greenfield Boys as they picked up a 55-47 win over Hampshire Regional, another decent victory. Well, nice way to be able to go into the Western Mass Tournament with a couple of big wins for the Greenfield Green Wave boys. And like I said, we'll talk about them in just a minute. Well, Hoosick Valley, got to tell you right now, they ended up having a battle with the Pioneer boys, and what a game it was, and it was all back and forth throughout the whole night. But Hoosick Valley picked up the 59-57 win over Pioneer as they are sitting pretty going into the upcoming Western Mass Tournament, which we will talk about in just a few minutes. Sorry, folks, I got sticky papers here. Well, the boys wrestling MIAA Division III Wrestling Championships were on Saturday, and that was over in Fitchburg. By the way, Frontiers, Peyton Sledesky, he ended up winding up fourth in the 120-pound division, and he was able to help his team to be able to do well in that, and he also got himself a ticket that was punched into the state tournament. So he was able to be joined by other players, including one of his teammates in Jake Matson. He finished sixth, and he qualified for the All-State invite for the 195-pound class. Franklin County Tech's Josh Burnell, sixth place in the 145-pound class. Also, we want folks to know that all of these players will be in the state tournament. We have information on how that went this past weekend here on the show. Well, the one thing that we want folks to know is that when it comes to the Greenfield Green Wave hockey team, they really do have some really good athletes. And the best part about it is that this team was really able to put it all together on senior night on Saturday as they picked up an 8-0 win over Mount Everett. Now, with that win, guess what? They captured the league title. That's right, with a record of 9-0-1 and an overall record of 10-6-2. Yep, all these seniors, for all of their 4 years at GHS, were able to say that they were right division champions. That's right. This senior class of all these guys, there's 7 seniors that are on this team, can be able to go into life and be able to tell their future children and grandchildren that when they played hockey in high school, they won their division 4 times. And as of now, it's not done yet, but as of now, they've already got 1 state championship too. And of course, they still would have a chance to get one this season. Like to let you know who those wonderful seniors are that got honored over at the rink on Saturday. That's Kevin Bauman, MJ Pollan, also Owen Willett, Logan Hume, Ben Given, RJ Grondin, Jake Croto. All were honored during the annual Peachtree alumni game that was taking place. They do that every year as a great fundraiser in honor of Dave Peachtree, a longtime coach and a longtime person who did so much at the rink. And there you go. Champions. Congratulations to them as they get ready for the upcoming tournament. Boys Western Mass Tournament games all began yesterday. And I'm going to run down the boys' scores and I'm going to run down the girls' scores. So that way you're able to see that. And we want folks to know that we didn't do very well. We had all these teams that played yesterday, but only 2 of these teams advanced in this Western Mass Tournament. And then, of course, we had our hockey team, which we'll talk about that as well. So let's get into boys Western Mass Tournament games that were played in basketball last night. Lennox ended up beating the Greenfield Boys, and they beat them big, 67-51. And it's very unfortunate because the Greenfield Boys basketball team came up with a couple of really big opportunities to be able to have the chance to do well in this tournament. They beat Bay State Academy, they ended up beating Hampshire, and then they ended up going and they ended up losing on the road in Lennox last night, in the Class C Western Mass Tournament, 67-51. Well, Monument Mountain took on Frontier and the Frontier Boys. And really, you want to talk about two teams that were pretty even? How about this? They tied at the half. They were literally tied at the half at 32-32. And then all of a sudden, things changed. And then it was back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And all of a sudden, Monument Mountain picked up with the win at home against Frontier. Now, this was a 4 seed versus a 5 seed, both very even. Tell you though, Joe Thompson ended up having a great game for his team. He scored 34 points of his team's 61. Still couldn't get enough in there for their team to pull off the win. So, as of the start of last night, we lost the Greenfield Boys in the West Mass Tournament, and we lost the Frontier Boys. Now, the Granby team is ranked number 4, and they ended up taking on the Pioneer Boys. Pioneer Boys end up getting beat 55-41. So there goes another team. Yep, so all of a sudden, Pioneer Boys are out of the Western Mass Tournament. Well, it was Westfield Tech, and they ended up having a non-conference game as they took on the Franklin County Tech School in Westfield Tech. And Westfield Tech dominated in this one early, but then all of a sudden Tech came back. Wasn't enough though. Final score was 59-52. Westfield Tech wins the non-playoff game. Girls basketball last night. Well, it was the non-conference game between Pioneer and the Hopkins Girls. And the Pioneer Girls end up winning that non-playoff game. And unfortunately, that doesn't really matter because there's teams that automatically were going to play this week. Yep, Pioneer ends up picking up the 43-35 win in a non-playoff game. Well, there was a playoff game between Drury and the Franklin County Tech Girls, and it was all Drury in this one. Final score was 52-28. So the Franklin County Tech Girls now out of the Western Mass Tournament. Of course, we'll talk more about the state tournament in just a few minutes. Well, there was a couple of other games that happened last night. Another tournament game as the Turners Falls Girls hosted Granby. And we can tell you that the Turners Falls Girls advanced. They are one of our 2 local teams that advanced. They ended up beating Granby last night 47-12. And with that win, they're going to take on the number 1 seeded team, Hoosick Valley. Check this out, folks. I read this. I had to look twice. Hoosick Valley, who is an amazing team, by the way. They are really, really good. They beat the Smith Academy girls in their first opening tournament game last night. Final score was 66-2. 66-2. Boy, let me tell you, that is a long drive home from Hoosick Valley back to Hatfield. Tough one for those ladies. So, where do we stand with this? Let's talk about it. So now the Turners Falls girls will be traveling tomorrow to take on Hoosick Valley. It's a 5 o'clock game. That'll be over at the school. And we will be there. Jeff Terrell and I will be there broadcasting live on Bear Country 95.3. So we will be there for that game at 5 o'clock. And we will be able to really see how well this Turners Falls team can compete against Hoosick Valley in the semifinals of the Western Mass Tournament. Now, let's talk about the team that we have that had a game as well. And this is a game of the Hopkins Boys. The Hopkins Boys picked up a 15-point win over Smith Academy. Now, they ended up advancing as well. Well, guess what? They are going to be traveling, Hopkins, to Hoosick Valley to take on the Hoosick Valley Boys. That game starts after the girls' game at 7 o'clock. So we decided, since we're already going to be there and our two local teams that we carry are going to be in the same gym, we're going to do back-to-back games live on the radio tomorrow. We'll start with the Hoosick Valley girls taking on the Turners Falls girls at 5 p.m., followed by the Hopkins Academy boys taking on the Hoosick boys. That game will begin at 7. Winners go to championship Saturday. So we'll be able to keep you more updated on that as, of course, when we get into our show next week. Well, the Western Mass Class B hockey semifinals took place, and it worked out pretty well last night for the Greenfield boys as they picked up a 5-3 victory over Belchertown. Now, the best part about this is that they are advancing to the championship. That's right. They are going to be going for a championship in Western Mass as they take on number 4 Chicopee. That game will be played on Thursday. It'll be a Thursday game over at the Olympia Ice Rink, located right there in West Springfield. And the game time is 6:30. So 6:30, they will face it off for a Western Mass Class B championship, Greenfield versus Chicopee. Should be a lot of fun. And of course, we know that the Greenfield boys also qualified for the upcoming state tournament. All right, now we'll come to the fun part. Now we get to talk about where we stand as we get ready for the upcoming state tournament. This is where we sort of get into the meat and the potatoes of what's going on here for this upcoming MIAA state tournament. First of all, I want to let you know that in the state tournament, the Greenfield Girls, they were at number 31 as of Thursday. But here's the thing. They have to be able to win out here. Because if they are able to win out, they will be guaranteed a spot in this state tournament. So they have a game tonight and they have a game tomorrow. They will play the Pioneer Girls tonight, which we'll have on Bear Country 95.3 with Jeff Terrell and I as we do this broadcast here, as we talk about this on our Tuesday gathering here at Greenfield Community Television. And then they play the Hopkins Girls, which, by the way, beat them. So if they win, and they can win 2, that is going to help them secure their spot in the state tournament, which starts, by the way, folks, next week. Let's move on. We also have the Frontier Girls. Frontier Girls are guaranteed a spot in the state tournament. They are a lock. So they are all set in Division 4 in the MIAA tournament. By the way, those girls ended up losing a very tough game last night. And they ended up getting knocked out of the Western Mass tournament too. So all of our teams except for 2 made it to the semifinals of the Western Mass tournament. And of course, we'll have both those games for you tomorrow. All at Hoosick. All right, let's move into the boys. Frontier boys guaranteed a spot in Division 4. They are guaranteed in Division 4 a spot in the state tournament. Division 5, Pioneer Valley Regional, guaranteed a spot in the state tournament. Greenfield boys, they are guaranteed a spot in the state tournament. Thing is that we also have the Turners Falls girls who qualified for the state tournament. They will be in. And the Franklin County Tech girls also, even though they weren't ranked in the top 32, they are definitely going to be in the state tournament because all you have to do is have a 500 record or better to be able to join in. So they are in. Even though the Greenfield boys hockey team has not been in the top 32 in the state, They are well over a 500 record, and they're going for a Western Mass championship, so they will be definitely probably ranked okay in the upcoming tournament. They might even move right into the top 32 because of the way that they've been playing so far. So, as we sit here and we sort of figure out what's going on, let me give you a little bit of insight about, and it's very important, about this state tournament. How it works is, folks, is the MIAA always had different divisional championships. They had a Western Mass champion, they had a Central Mass champion, they had an Eastern Mass champion, and they set it up so that they could be able to have 4 different divisions with champions to be able to go for state titles. They decided they didn't want to do that anymore. So what they did is they started a statewide MIAA tournament. This particular Western Mass tournament is literally run by the athletic directors of Western Mass in all their schools. They're the ones who set this whole thing up for Western Mass. Really, if they didn't do that, it would just be waiting with a week off of practices this week before starting into the state tournament. Here's the thing, the highest seeded team is the host. So, for an example, if you're playing a Boston team and they're ranked number 2 and you are, just say, ranked number 30, you're going to drive from Mohawk to Boston to play a game against the Boston team in the MIAA state tournament. Here's one for you. This happened during volleyball. Perfect example. This happened twice in 1 week. The Mohawk girls volleyball team went to Hyannis. They ended up playing a volleyball tournament game. They won. They went from literally Buckland to Hyannis, Cape Cod for a game and drive back home. Then, later that week, because they won, they had to travel to the next highest seeded team, and guess what it was? Bourne. They literally drove to Bourne High School back to Cape Cod to play volleyball twice in 1 week. There are teams out there that could travel to Martha's Vineyard. There's teams that could travel all the way to Nantucket. And of course, we just told you about what happened in Cape Cod. Well, we also have other parts of the state too. How about the ones that are tucked up near, literally on, like Westport? Westport is on the Rhode Island border. Then you got Gloucester, which is literally in Rockport. They're up in their own little place, up on the other side of the state of Massachusetts, up on the North Shore. So think about this, folks. This tournament, because it was based to try to be able to satisfy many people down in the Boston area, guess what it did? It made it so that there's a huge inconvenience for many. I'm going to give you even one better. We have really good basketball teams that are in the Berkshires that are better than some of the teams, believe it or not, that are in the Boston area. We could have teams from Boston or even a team from Cape Cod having to go to the Berkshires and play against Drury, or go to North Adams and play against Mount Greylock. This is this new tournament. Do I like it? Hell no. I like the old format better. Play Western Mass, win it, go have an opportunity to be able to play in the semis against the Central State, the Central Division champion, and then the winner of that game goes for the state title. That's the way it should be. This new format is costing schools a lot of money in transportation. It's causing a problem where parents can't get to games because they're so far away. And it's also taking a toll on these students as well, especially when they have to go to school the next day, when they're leaving school to drive on a bus to go play a game that could be literally 2.5 to 3 hours away, and then drive 3 hours back after playing in a game and warming up. It turns into a full day for just one game. And it takes a lot on these kids. So that is a little insight of what is going on with the state tournament, which does begin next week. This Saturday, they will have all the seedings all out. And then we'll be able to talk about all the pairings on our show next week. Matter of fact, I am going to talk to my producer, John Meisner, and also our executive producer with Philippe Simone, and I want to chat with both of those guys about the fact that maybe we should try to record this show on Monday of next week instead of Tuesday, because we'll have all of the alignment of the state tournament seeds ready. That way we can get this show out to you folks so you can be able to know a little bit more about what will be coming up during that week. I think it's only in our best interest to take advantage of trying to get on that extra day. And because we have the information coming in on Saturday, that we can be able to get that out to you right away. That would be wonderful. So hopefully we can work this out with GCTV. And like I said, I'll be talking to my producers about this. And hopefully we can make it happen, because I think it's important for folks to know that we want to get this show up on our YouTube page. If you go to GCTV and our YouTube page, you're going to be able to see our show each and every week. You know, it's wonderful. They do a great job. They've been really good about trying to get this up as early in the week as possible. And our goal will be next Monday to get our show recorded during the day, try to get that up on YouTube on Monday night. And that way you folks can be able to see where your team is going to be playing and how that state tournament will go underway for next week. Because believe it or not, folks, after we get done with the state tournament, we have a 3-week layoff. 3-week layoff before we even start getting ready for the next season, which is our spring sports. So we want to be able to give you as many shows as possible. We want to be able to give you the insight of what's going on with our locals, and I think it's important for everyone to know. So as we get ready to wind down our Franklin County Varsity Sports Report here today, I just want to say that you can go to GCTV, our YouTube page, opportunity to be able to see our shows. All the shows are all there for you. Big thank you again to John Meisner, Philippe Simone. We had a wonderful boys' dinner this past weekend on Sunday. We had a wonderful meal. And I just want to say a big thank you to those guys for everything that they've done throughout the year and the appreciation I have for them. And we had a wonderful time. It was really wonderful. We had great food and great service, and it was great company with two wonderful guys who really have done an amazing job being able to keep this show going each and every week. We also want to say thank you to Franklin First Federal Credit Union, Manny's, right there on Route 9 in Hadley and on River Street in Greenfield, and also by Lisa Albert of Albert Hearing Services. So, like I said, we're going to try to get this bad boy together for next Monday, only because we'll have all the information that we need to be able to share with you the seedings of the upcoming state tournament. Congratulations goes out to all of our teams on a great season. There are some teams that will not be participating in that state tournament, and their seasons are over. Congratulations to our winners of Alpine skiing. They did an amazing job. Want to say congratulations to Addie Loomis one more time. Also want to say congratulations to Miss Sissom and also to our friend Mr. Oden. Congratulations to all three of those great skiers. For me, Bobby C., for Philippe Simone, for John Meisner, and all of us at Greenfield Community Television, you have yourself a wonderful week. And enjoy and please support your local athletes.